I decided to spend 24 hours in Roblox Forsaken, starting as a new player who knows nothing about the game. I want to unlock every character, get as many wins as possible, and get good. This ended up going very well. So going into this, I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd played it a little bit before, so I didn't know the basics. There's one killer, they try to kill everyone, while the survivors attempt to fix generators and use their abilities to run the match timer down in order to win. Sounds simple. The problem was, I was getting cooked. Forsaken is not beginner friendly in the least. There's 10 different survivors, 4 different killers, and all of them have at least 2, typically 3 or 4 different abilities. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll read what these abilities do. There's an in-game database after all. So I go and look and I go to read. I was playing as the Noob, which as you might guess is a character unlocked by default. And I was not really understanding how to get the most out of my abilities. I lost over and over and over. I did make a few nice plays like that was pretty funny. But it was so weird. I felt like the killer was ridiculously overpowered. They could just stun lock me at will, flip me over like a little bird with a worm. It was very frustrating. But then those few times I got chosen to be the killer, it felt like the machete he carried had been swapped out with a pool noodle. It felt like my character was walking through mud. And I guess he might as well have been, because a huge part of Forsaken gameplay is stamina management. You start with 100 in this little bar here, 110 if you're the killer, and whenever you sprint, it depletes very quickly. As soon as you stop sprinting, it begins to rapidly charge back up. The catch being, if you bottom out and hit 0 stamina, it takes longer to come back, which I had not noticed at this point. As such, the whole lobby was running rings around me. They had enough space to use their own defensive abilities against me, and it was a struggle to get even a couple of kills. Plus, when I did, half the time, they wouldn't even count as a real kill. Huh? I'll use this moment here as an example of how confusing this game can be. One of the survivors has a power which lets them spawn a clone while they turn translucent at the same time. The idea being to distract the killer with the fake clone while the real player retreats to safety. Obviously, this is extremely effective versus new players because why the hell would I ever think that's a thing you can do? What? Some other survivors have equally confusing abilities, and if you don't understand how they work, you get dog walked, as I did for that entire first hour. Woof woof, bark bark. The only positive was I'd earned a good amount of money, enough to buy a new character. I had plenty of options, but I decided on 2-time, because this character has a Madeline Celeste skin, and I really wanted that. Even using the new character, the matches were not going much better than before. As opposed to the Noob, who has strictly defensive items, 2-time has a neat ability which lets them stab the killer with a dagger. They can use it raw, or they can pair it with another ability which lets them crouch and kinda wind up the stab. You can't kill the killer, normally at least, but you can slow them down, and if you stab them 2 or 3 times, you can get enough juice to earn an extra life. That sounds good on paper, but I was not having much luck stabbing the killer. It honestly felt like I had better odds at survival by just trying to avoid them as much as possible, rather than going into the fray to risk my neck to try to earn that second life. Even still, 2-time felt notably better to play than the Noob did, and I was getting a bit more comfortable as a survivor. I mean, really all you do is run away. You don't have to take out the killer or anything, you just have to survive long enough to let the match timer reach 0. Cowardice is kind of encouraged. You can't do much other than try to help fellow survivors stay alive and try to fix the generators scattered around the map to spur the timer down slightly quicker. Side note, these puzzles you have to do to fix the generators where you connect the lines like you're unlocking your iPad, these got old after the second one. These got really old after the third one. By the end of this challenge, Zooey Mama. So I was feeling better in the survivor role, but as the killer, I was getting more and more frustrated. The hitboxes in my attacks felt so janky, the movement so sluggish. I kept accidentally depleting all my stamina because I was too focused on the chase. The way Jason would halt after running to stand in place and slowly play out his attack animation was driving me nuts. Enough to leave mid-match. It wasn't much of a rage quit, I joined back right after. I was now able to get survivor wins semi-consistently. My main strategy was to hide far away from the bad man, and by doing that, I earned enough money to buy the skin I wanted, Celeste. Now this is just a cosmetic, it really has no effect on gameplay. I should have bought another survivor or even a new killer instead, but it's Madeline. I love Celeste. And I was slowly gaining knowledge about the game. A killer round during hour 3 was where I finally realized that one survivor I talked about earlier had that clone ability. I learned that the power-ups you can find on the ground, the medkit and the Bloxy Soda, which are for healing and a speed boost respectively, have very long use animations. I learned it's not a good idea to try to use them during an active chase. And I also came to realize there was one killer in particular that seemed especially brutal. 1x, 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 1x. This dude seemed crazy strong with the glitchy computer virus effects his attacks had. Anytime I got hit, I felt quite incapacitated. I literally wrote in my notes, this is a direct quote, 1x, 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 1x feels so stupidly OP. His attack hitbox is giant, he has the glitch effects. How do you counter? I did not know, but I wanted to find out, so I started saving my money up towards buying him, to see if a different character would lend to better results as a killer. Lord knows I needed to change something, because I still cannot for the life of me get a win as a killer. And after I sliced a dude, it did nothing, and they punched me in the face and stunned me. I rage quit again. This was on International Museum Day, by the way. Saw that in my Windows dashboard. I was fed up with trying to feel out the game mechanics, and I did not want to sit down and read through all the character ability info descriptors, so I turned to YouTube, specifically my bro Corso. I had seen that he had just put out a video ranking all the survivors, so I took a break to eat and drink and watch that video. And this was actually big. I learned more in 20 minutes than I had in the past 3 hours. No glaze. Maybe a bit glaze. After a bit, I returned feeling composed. Jumping back into it, I changed characters again, this time trying out Elliot. This is a pizza delivery person with strictly defensive abilities. They can run away really fast, or they can throw the pizza slice, which can heal fellow survivors, although you cannot eat them yourself. He's not one of my preferred characters because I'm very selfish. But also, I just don't like not having any way to fight back. Like yeah, 2 times dagger most of the time didn't really help me much at all, but it was something I could temporarily stall the killer with. I could pretend I was making a difference. I felt kinda helpless as Elliot. It felt like I needed my team to protect me. As a killer, I was doing a bit better. I still wasn't jiving with the hitboxes and movement and stamina, but now having a better understanding of the survivor's abilities, I was able to play a wee bit smarter. I had 2 matches where I managed to kill all but 1 survivor, which that was better than the prior attempts. It still didn't feel great to get 1 punch comboed by a guest, but what are you gonna do? I then had an interesting confrontation with another player in the lobby. This dude with the girls love my autism item and I got into a very intense argument. We could not agree on what game Jumbo Josh is from. I was saying he's from Poppy Playtime. He was saying he's from Garten of Banban. This dispute got pretty serious. It carried over between multiple rounds. I actually spotted him in game, right here, you can see. There he is, there's Jumbo Josh. We both got pretty heated, some unkind words were exchanged. and if we're being honest, I was just messing with this guy. I know Jumbo Josh isn't from Poppy Playtime, he's from Incredible Digital Circus. All that bickering helped to pass the time though, and as the hour reached its end, I almost had enough for the character I wanted. I grinded out a couple more matches, I finally got my first win as a killer. Yippee! And at last, I had enough money to buy 1x, 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 1. I can't even say his whole name. That name is way too cumbersome. I'm gonna start calling him 1x. This killer had mopped the floor with me over and over. So I was curious, would it really feel that much stronger than Jason? Was it purely a skill difference thing, or would it actually perform better as a killer? I also bought the hot dog emote because I thought it was fun. The next time I got chosen as a killer, with the new character equipped, yeah, he's pretty strong. It took, up to this point, up to the 6th hour to get my first win as Jason. Meanwhile, I won the first 4 rounds I played as 1x. As a killer, his powers just felt so much more useful. Jason had like slice and stab and swing, and they all felt super slow and range limited. Meanwhile, 1x has the same basic sword attack, and ability which reveals the location of every survivor. I guess Jason had something similar, but it was lamer with him. An ability which turns defeated survivors into heat-seeking minions, and 2 long-ranged attack abilities with very disruptive debuffs. I was still getting outrun, I was still getting juked, but it didn't really matter. These abilities were just so powerful, particularly the 2 ranged attacks, that it was infinitely easier to deal damage. If you're good enough at the game, you can make any character work. If you're not good at the game, you can still make 1x work. For the first time in a while, I was having fun. I was actually enjoying playing as a killer, instead of rage quitting. Through that process, I earned enough money to buy another survivor. I'd been playing 2-time for a while, and I wanted to try someone new. So I bought Builderman. This character is actually based off a popular children's cartoon show, you might not know that. With Builderman, you have abilities which allow you to build turrets. One type is offensive, shooting bullets and slowing the killer, and the other type is defensive, offering healing for survivors. I kinda like playing this character because I feel like as Builderman, I don't have much responsibility. I can just build my sentries and take an early lunch break. Using Builderman in the first game of Hour 7, all of us survivors came together to set up a million traps and different defenses. Home Alone type beat. There was no way the killer was getting through all of that. The killer got through and killed us all. Coolkid was the character the killer had been using there, by the way, and it was at this point I realized just how disgusting looking this dude is. He's all fleshy and gross. He looks straight out of Attack on Titan. I'll come back to Coolkid later. Spoiler alert, I hate this stupid kid. By this point, I'd had enough of Builderman, so I switched back to 2-time. In another round, I encountered a killer who was going through similar things that I had experienced in my first attempts. I felt kinda bad for them. It got to the point where all the survivors were chasing them, and a couple of interesting rounds later, I had enough money to buy yet another survivor. Not Taph. This character has 2 traps they can set. A tripwire, which honestly doesn't do much, and a subspace trip mine. You'll know what this is if you watched any Albert Stuff trolling videos. The trip mine is pretty effective against the killer if you can get them to step on it, or vaguely near it. I know I got beamed by the trip mine an embarrassing amount of times this killer, but somehow every single mine I threw out ended up unexploded. Well, somehow. I guess it's pretty obvious why, okay? I wasn't good at the game. Taph kind of has the same thing going as Builderman, where you really need your traps to come through because if they don't, you're cooked. This time I was flambéed. So for the second time, I went back to 2-time. 2-time was pretty much my main at this point. I then had another very unique encounter in the lobby. So this dude comes up to me and says, "I hate you. Everyone's so mean to me." Turns out that he was upset because I had inadvertently led the killer right to him in the previous round. and so he didn't get to give me pizza. Except I went and watched the footage back, and I don't think I did that. Someone else was playing as Taph as well, so I think they must have done that, and then he confused us. Or he was gaslighting me. Someone cosplaying as Coolkid backed me up here, saying to the dude, "If you don't stop raging, I'ma report you." Hey, appreciate that one. Anyways, that was that. I played one more match as Taph, where I did get a survivor win, wowie. I leveled up the character as well. I'd been leveling up all the characters I'd played as throughout this whole video. It never seemed to actually change anything about the characters, so I didn't think it was that important. I found out afterwards that leveling up only unlocks cosmetics. Then, back in the intermission lobby, that player from earlier actually came back, and he apologized. It's not like what he said was actually bad, obviously, he did not need to apologize for that. I still thought it was really wholesome. Before the end of the hour, I earned enough money to buy yet another character. This dude's name is dumb, so I'm just gonna call him Burger Guy, because he has a burger on his head. Burger Guy is that one survivor I talked about a while ago who has the clone ability. As I said then, it's really good versus people who don't know better, but against an experienced killer, they're going to be watching for you to use it, so it requires a lot more subtlety to pull off. I do think the clone is pretty cool though. There's some big brain plays you can make with it. It's definitely one of my favorite abilities. Visually, Burger Guy presents as having 3 abilities, but this last one here just changes the way the clone moves. The only other ability he really has is a teleport to the far side of the map, which sounds handy for escaping danger, but the problem is, it takes so long to load that it's never going to be useful if you're in an active chase, unless you can successfully grovel with the killer long enough to stall them out, which... Hey, you know me. As I mentioned prior, I won my first 4 games as 1x. The final match of this hour was the first round I lost as him, as despite getting pretty close, I couldn't quite finish off this survivor. Still, I was feeling pretty good. My eyes hurt, and I had a bit of a headache after 6 hours of Forsaken. I'm actually not sure what the positive is here. I went to eat dinner, and I also took some time to watch Leafs vs Panthers Game 7. If you're gonna say, "Oh, that goes against the spirit of the challenge, it's supposed to be, 24 hours in Forsaken." That hockey game left me feeling Forsaken, brother. That was honestly just depressing. How were they that bad? I felt rejuvenated after that break, and I locked back into gameplay. I was in a server with a lot of newish players, and it really took me back, it took me back in the day, to the morning, when I had been getting destroyed by 1x. Now I was the 1x, destroying the people who didn't know how to play the game. It felt great. I earned more money, which meant more survivor. This time I bought Dusekkar. Not sure if that's how you say it. This character is hard to play, so I don't like them. They can give a shield to another survivor, but doing so makes their own position very precarious. So you really need whoever you're boosting to come up clutch with an ability, or escape to safety, or not run right at you and lead the killer to you. Dusekkar also has a staff attack thing, which they can use to slightly buff other survivors, or slightly nerf the killer, something like that, I don't really remember. Not the character for me. I went back to 2-time. This was also the point where I started to kind of feel like a lot of the progress I had made had not been as substantial as I thought. I still was not good at the game. I had a terrible killer round, despite playing as 1x, and I kept losing even as survivor. By this point, I was really starting to have some serious questions about hitboxes. I complained about this earlier, and it definitely is a cope, don't get me wrong, but I do think that, being this far away from the killer probably means I shouldn't be taking damage there, or here. There is that much space between us, and he still hits and kills me? I don't know how much of this is on my internet, how much of this is on the other person's internet, and how much of it is on the game, but it was a relative constant throughout all of this. Now, the jank did go my way at times, like in this match, where somehow stabbing the killer right in the face counted as a backstab, which is better than a front stab. I have no idea how. This isn't something exclusive to me. People play this game and people are good at this game in spite of wonky stuff like that, but by this point, I was committed to grinding the money to purchase the last 2 survivors. I played a lot of rounds, I won a couple, lost a couple more, not a whole lot happened. But by the end of the hour, I had enough money. I purchased Guest 1337 and Chance, which filled out my roster of survivors. First up is the Guest. He's based off the original character, well actually I guess he's not really an original character, from Oblivious HD's The Last Guest series. I'll be real, I'd never watched this series. I looked over a few clips for context and seems to share a lot in common with another show I recently started watching called Attack on Titan. The Guest has abilities which allow him to effectively fight the killer. He has a block/parry type defensive ability which, if he eats the killer's attack while using it, he gains a charge to his punch power. This lets him punch the killer. His other ability is a charge, no battery, which is okay, I guess. I didn't use it much. The whole parry mechanic this character revolves around is not really my thing. I just spent like half a page of the script complaining about the hitboxes, so as you can imagine, I wasn't enamored with an ability that required semi-precise timing and alignment. The window is very generous, but even so. I tried it for a few games. There were some highlights. I checked out this ancient creature exhibit on the one carnival map. This is a highlight. I mean, it was National Museum Day after all. But in combat, didn't exactly work. So I switched to Chance. This character is pretty fun. His whole thing is that he's a gambler. He has a coin flip ability with a super fast recharge, and heads, he gets a charge for his abilities. Tails, he gets a debuff. Now, 2 of his abilities aren't very useful, but his final ability lets him shoot a gun, which, it should be said, can misfire. It's got higher odds to work properly the more charges you stack, up to 3, but even then it's not guaranteed to work, so it is a risky character. Aiming the gun is also not the easiest. Aiming anything in this game is weird. It's like, it doesn't go where your mouse is, it goes in the direction your character is pointed, which makes it feel really imprecise and clunky. I found out later that the strat is to use shift lock when aiming, but I did not know that at the time. I still like the character though, Chance is solid. Oof, but yeah, that is every survivor obtained. All that was left for me to do was get the last 2 killers. If you're thinking, oh, you missed a character, you didn't talk about one of the survivors. I do not want to play as Shedletsky, bro. He fell off. I played probably my single worst match as the killer yet, to the point where the rest of the lobby took pity on me and tried to explain game mechanics, and I snaked them so I could stat pad my killer KDR. I met a viewer cosplaying as Coolkid who tried to help me out and give me some tips on how to play better. My ego could not handle that though, so I did what had to be done. And if you're a viewer who wants to get in games with me, subscribing and liking does not help with that at all, but it would make me happy. This video took forever to make. That's a lie, I spent a month playing Pokemon Showdown. And thanks to the channel members. I don't know if I have any left, I haven't checked my analytics in a bit and I don't want to. Yeah, self-promo finished. Anyways, I played a couple more rounds and to end the hour, I got one last survivor win. Something really exciting happened at hour 13. I went to bed. Yeah, I know, 24 hours. I'm not laughability, bro. I think if I had spent 12 more hours playing Forsaken without sleeping, I might have actually died that day. On National Museum Day. And then there would be no video, instead of a video where I slept through multiple hours. Okay, obviously I wouldn't have actually kicked the bucket, but this video is getting pretty close to the end regardless. You can see for yourself. I knew I only needed a couple more hours to buy the last killers and to say everything I wanted to say about the game, so I didn't want to sacrifice any amount of my own health to reach a totally arbitrary time mark, which would have just bloated the video with hours filled with repetitive grinding to no end anyways. So yeah, I went to sleep. I planned to wake up early and finish my grinding in the morning. I slept in a little, what can I say? I thought it would be mega lame to end the video here just because of the 24-hour thing, so I decided to go over the time limit and play as many hours as needed to buy the last two characters, those being Coolkid and John Doe. I didn't have much money on me, so I knew I was in for a bit of a grind. I got enough for Coolkid. And let me say it now, I hate this kid. He's a bum. He is so rude. He throws rocks at people. He prank calls pizzas to people's houses. He wants to play tag all the time. He's always giggling about something. He's a pretty solid character. I did get the win playing as him, but give me 1x every day. That's a fake Roblox hacker with aura. So with just one character left, I was back to grinding. I didn't really mention it, but it takes a while to make money in this game. You kind of just have to run around and that's it. Things were going fine. I was losing some, I was winning some. But then, to my horror, John Doe himself struck, hacking the mainframe to take out my internet. My internet went out. My internet came back, and after around an hour of grinding, I finally got enough money to purchase John Doe. This earned me an achievement and officially completed my roster of characters. I did this before Noli, okay? I don't know if Noli will be out by the time I finish editing, but don't you dare leave a comment saying where's Noli. You will be banned. I had to wait another half hour to get picked as killer, but when I finally did, John Doe was pretty good. He drips goopy code sludge everywhere as he walks, and he has an ability allowing him to set long-lasting traps, which can be very valuable if placed in the right spot. He also has an ability to summon spikes, which can act as a sort of barricade to prevent egress from survivors. You know I was bored as hell when I put egress instead of escape. John Doe as a character really leans on positioning and planning. You know, if you got a big brain, you can really make good use of him. Naturally, I played him just like any old character, chasing people, and he was still strong enough for me to get the win. And that ended the challenge. I went into this wanting to understand how to play Forsaken, and to glean insight on why the game was so popular. In my videos, I always aim to include some weird ideas and thoughts I have, and I try to be, pretty honest, but I will say now, I did not end up loving Forsaken. The new player experience is poor, the mechanics and hitboxes are janky, chases feel less intense and more slow and frustrating. The game overall is incredibly repetitive, but I did like aspects of the game, and I can definitely see the appeal. I can see why the game has such a big fan base. The characters are all uniquely varied, there's a ton of neat mechanics and abilities. The theming and aesthetic is super consistent throughout. I didn't even touch on the Roblox lore, how a lot of these characters like Roblox hackers or iconic Roblox characters. That's something this game has, which a lot of the front page slop does not. Personality and character. The skins, I only really talked about the Celeste skin because that's the only one I bought, but there's a huge variety of cosmetics referencing so many different medias. I complained about jank, but despite that, the skill ceiling is still very high. There are levels to the way you can play, and some of it is pretty impressive. At the end of the day, Forsaken is definitely a better game than a lot of the slop that gets pushed to the front page, you know? Grow a garden, Pet Simulator, bleh. I don't think I'll make any more videos on this game, unless this one does really well, you know, gotta pay for that Switch 2 somehow. But yeah, Forsaken, solid game. Final remarks, closing remarks. Make sure you pay your local museum a visit.